Hi, everyone. Welcome to, I'm sure I don't remember, week maybe 8 of Unity Sunday School Online. This week, I want to talk about something that's kind of dear to me because it was much like me as I was a child, and that is feeling invisible sometimes. And to start off, I want to read our Bible verses. Proverbs 3, chapters 5 and 6. Verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. And from Proverbs 16, verse 9. The heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. If we just take a moment to think about both of those and the paths that we're on, every day of our lives is just one step further on that path. And if we listen to that inner voice in us, we know what path to take. So today I want to talk about read a book called The Invisible Boy. This is by Trudy Ludwig, and it's illustrated by Patrice Barton. As a child, believe it or not, I was a very, very extremely shy child, and I didn't have very much self-confidence. And over the years, I learned to think about myself from a bigger, broader standpoint than just where I am right now. And it made me able to see that there's a lot that I have to offer to this world. And I think that in this book, The Invisible Boy, Miss Ludwig really shows us that everyone has a purpose here on earth and a place that we can be right now in the here and now, and not just in a future. So without further ado, here we go. The Invisible Boy. Can you see Brian, the invisible boy? Even Mrs. Carlotti has trouble noticing him in her classroom. She's too busy dealing with Nathan and Sophie. And I bet we've all had classrooms where you feel like you might not even be visible because there's so much chaos going on and the teacher's always worried about getting everything under control. I know I've had classes like that. Nathan has problems with what Mrs. Carlotti calls volume control. He uses his outside voice inside too much. Sophie whines and complains when she doesn't get her way. And again, I bet you can identify with some of those students in your past or present classrooms. Nathan and Sophie take up a lot of space. Brian doesn't. When the bell rings for recess, Micah and JT take turns choosing kids for their kickball team. The best players get picked first, then the best friends of the best players, then the friends of the best friends, and only Brian is left still waiting and hoping. And there's Brian. JT glances in Brian's direction and just as quickly looks away. We've got enough players for each team, he tells the others. Let's play ball. And so then Brian walks away. In the cafeteria, Madison and her friends talk about her birthday party. The rope swing over the pool was awesome, says JT. Yeah, so was the water slide, adds Fiona. That was the best pool party ever. I'm so glad you guys had fun, says Madison. Everybody did, except Brian. He wasn't invited. At choosing time, while the other kids play board games and read, Brian sits at his table doing what he loves to do best. He draws fire-breathing dragons, scaling tall buildings, greedy pirates digging for treasures, space aliens locked in intergalactic battles, and superheroes with the power to make friends wherever they go. Here's Brian drawing. I also love to draw. He's pretty good at doing little cartoon figures. And look at down here where he is a superhero that makes friends wherever he goes. Are any of you feeling like Brian? I hope not. On Monday morning, Mrs. Carlotti introduces Justin, a new student, to the class. Brian smiles shyly at him. Some of the other kids sneak looks at Justin, trying to figure out if he's cool enough to be their friend. They haven't quite made up their minds yet. It's always hard being a new student at a school. And Brian's still pretty invisible here. At lunch, Madison and JT watch Justin eat with chopsticks. "What's that?" asks Madison as she points at Justin's food. I'm not sure I can get the words right that he answers, but he says, "It's bulgogi." "Bul what?" says one of the other students. "Bulgogi. It's Korean barbecued beef. My grandma made it for me. It's really good. Do you want to try some?" "There's no way I'd eat burger-G." And the kids laughed. All of them, that is, except for Brian. He sits there wondering which is worse, being laughed at or feeling invisible. There's a picture. The next day, when Justin goes to his hubby to put away his backpack, he notices a piece of paper with his name on it. It says, "Justin, I thought the bulgogi looked good. Brian." And you can see one of his great cartoon pictures there. At morning recess, Brian finds a piece of chalk on the ground and starts drawing. "You're Brian, right?" "Yeah, thanks for the note." It's nice how kindness goes, doesn't it? "Hey, Justin," Emilio calls out from the tetherball court. "You're up next." "Sorry, I gotta go," says Justin. "By the way, that's a really cool drawing," he adds before taking off. So you can see that Brian was drawing when Justin came up to him, and then Amelia called for him to take his turn on the tetherball. Back in class, Mrs. Carlotti asked the kids to team up in twos or threes for a special project. The kids scurry around the room to pair off. Brian heads toward Justin. "I'm already with Justin," says Emilio. "Find someone else." Brian looks at the floor, wishing he could draw a hole right there to swallow him up. "Mrs. Carlotti said we can have up to 3 people in our group. We're only 2. Come on, Emilio, let him work with us." Okay, I guess. So I think Justin's note that he got from Brian has helped him to notice Brian. Mrs. Carlotti gives the class directions for the project. Your assignment is to work together to write a story about what you see in this photograph. Use your imagination and have fun. "Whoa, cool," says Emilio. "What kind of people do you think would live in houses like that?" I don't know, but I bet Brian could draw them to go with our story, says Justin. Brian smiles as he takes out his lucky pen. Look at Brian is turning solid colors now because he feels needed and he feels self-worth. So the students start drawing and writing. And now they are going to present. Let's see how much of it I can read. The crooked story we made up on the spot. Narrator. Hi, I'm the narrator, and if you're wondering why a pirate got the part of a narrator, I'll tell you. It's all in the agent. Now, on with the tale. Ah, sounds super. Let me show you that picture again. Look how happy they all are, working together. It's lunchtime again, Brian's least favorite part of the day. Another 20 long minutes of kids talking and laughing with everyone else but him. Brian, he hears someone shout. Hey, Brian, over here. Brian turns and sees Justin waving him over. Emilio nods at Brian as he makes room for him at the table. Cookie? Thanks. Maybe, just maybe, Brian's not so invisible after all. And that's the end. So I want to close with one more Bible verse, Psalms 119, verse 105. Your word is a lamp for my feet, a light on my path. We all have that path. In the Invisible Boy book, Brian found out that he has self-worth and he has his own path. He let his creativity come out from within him and shone, and the other children started believing in him too then. Well, Brian had to believe in himself first, and by giving that note to the new child, Justin, gave him that little bit of a glimpse of what it was like to have a friend, even if it was short-lived at first. And then Justin repaid that kindness, that act of kindness. So I want all of you to go out there in the world today, wherever you're at, and I want you just to think about what you could do for the kindness of others, to do, even if it's mailing them a little note or smiling at them or saying hello. Someone may be out there that needs just to hear that exact thing, and you will be doing the exact right thing if you listen to that Christ within you. Remember that song that we used to sing, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. That's what I want you to do today. Don't ever cover up that light in you. We all have it. It's that path that we have to go down in order to be the best we can be. So now it's your turn to let your light shine. Listen to your inner Christ and find your own path. Thanks for listening.